Hello friends, welcome to the video for UPSC Prelims on Health and Disease Part 1. Our interests will include common diseases in humans, drugs and alcohol abuse, and then we'll talk about COVID-19, which is a very current and prevalent uh, outbreak that has taken the whole world in its hand. So let's start. First, we'll talk about health and disease. So, in a common term or common language, how do you define health? Or what do you think health to be? And why you think being healthy is important? So, in nutshell, it can be defined as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. Uh, so, what are the factors that can help a person to be healthy? These factors includes balanced diet. Only balanced diet can give vital nutrients and minerals to the body. Personal hygiene, as we'll see in coming slides, that how personal hygiene is very much important in maintaining ourselves healthy and will save us from many of the diseases. And regular exercise. This is also again very much important. If a person is unhealthy, then the term which is used is called as disease, which can be defined as when the functioning of one or more organs or systems of the body is adversely affected, which is the disease is characterized by various signs and symptoms. For example, having fever, having rashes, having a cold, running nose, chest pain, etc. and etc. So all these signs and symptoms then helps to identify which disease the person may be having. A few of the diseases can spread from one person to another through use of objects, through close contact, etc. etc. And these are called as infectious diseases. And other diseases that do not they do not get transmitted from one person to another through contact or through any other means. For example, is cancer. And such type of diseases are called as non-infectious diseases. What are the common diseases in humans? There are many which have been listed in this slide, and uh, many of you all must be aware of these diseases. We'll be looking into few of these diseases in detail in the coming slides. But before that, we'll familiarize ourselves with what the disease-causing organisms can be, and these are called as pathogens. So the definition of pathogens is the disease-causing organisms, uh, which also includes parasites. They are called as pathogens. Parasites thrive in hosts and they adapt themselves to the environment in the host. Only then they can multiply themselves, grow in number, and disturb the normal functioning of the body. Pathogens are broadly classified as bacteria, fungi, elements, protozoans, and viruses. There are many diseases which are caused by bacteria, like typhoid, pneumonia, dysentery, plague, diphtheria. Fungi causes, say, ringworms. Elements cause ASCARIASIS, ELEPHANTIASIS. Protozoans cause malaria, amoebiasis, and viruses cause common cold. We'll look into a few of the diseases in detail. The first disease we will look upon is typhoid. It is caused by bacteria Salmonella typhi and it spreads through contaminated food and water. Uh, Through contaminated food and water, this pathogen enters inside the human body and then it moves into the small intestine, which shows few symptoms as sustained high fever from 39 to 40 degrees Celsius, weakness, stomach pain, constipation, headache, and loss of appetite. The picture shows how typhoid spreads, and this would make it easier for you all to understand. The first mode can be, as already said, through contaminated food and water during floods or natural disaster. Second is food from outlets which do not practice hygiene. So for us, actually many flies and mosquitoes also taste the food. Uh, the next one is eating seafood from a water source contaminated by infected feces or urine, then using a toilet contaminated with bacteria and not washing your hands, eating raw vegetables that have been fertilized with human waste, and the last one is contaminated milk products. All these can be the ways of spreading typhoid. Next disease we'll look upon is pneumonia. This is also a bacterial disease caused by bacteria Streptococcus pneumoniae and Haemophilus influenzae. How this disease spreads is, again, this is an infectious disease, so it spreads by inhalation of the droplets or aerosols which are released by an infected person. So if a healthy person inhales such droplets, he will catch pneumonia. Pneumonia affects alveoli of the lungs. Alveoli are actually the air-filled sacs. So when alveoli gets affected, they are filled with fluid, and that leads to respiratory problems. Pneumonia is accompanied by symptoms as fever, chills, cough, and headache. And in severe conditions, lips and fingernails may turn gray to bluish in color. This picture represents the symptoms of pneumonia. Common cold. Common cold, just the difference between common cold and pneumonia is that common cold does not reaches out to lungs. It only affects nose and respiratory passage. However, pneumonia gets into lungs as well. The pathogen for common cold is rhinoviruses. The source of this infection is same as pneumonia. The droplets from cough or sneezes of an infected person are inhaled by a healthy person. Even the objects which are used by an infected person are the source of causing this disease, spread of this disease. It affects, as already said, nose and respiratory passage. It is accompanied by symptoms as nasal congestion and discharge, sore throat, hoarseness, cough, headache, tiredness, and these symptoms usually last for 3 to 7 days. Next, this is malaria. Malaria is a protozoan disease. The name of the protozoa which causes malaria is Plasmodium. Plasmodium has got various species which causes malaria. They are Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium malaria, Plasmodium falciparum. Plasmodium falciparum also causes malignant malaria, which is fatal. That means it leads to death. So that is very dangerous. The vector for malaria is a female Anopheles mosquito. Vector is defined as the transmitting agent. It transmits the protozoan from mosquito to humans. Disease malaria is accompanied by chills and high fever, which are recurring every 3 to 4 days. Next is amoebiasis or amoebic dysentery. This is also caused by a protozoan, Amoebia histolytica, but this protozoan, they are already inside large intestine of human as a parasite. Uh, the How this disease spreads is drinking water and food contaminated by the fecal matter, and the vector for this disease is houseflies. It is accompanied by symptoms as constipation, abdominal pain and cramps, stools with excessive mucus, and blood clots. Now, Ascariasis disease. Ascariasis disease is caused by Ascaris, which is a roundworm or helminth, and it is a parasite in intestine. You can see in the diagram how it is invading inside the intestinal layer, cell membrane. How it spreads, it's again spreads by contaminated water, vegetables, fruits, etc. And symptoms include internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever, anemia, and blockage of intestinal passage. Elephantiasis or filariasis. It is caused by pathogen Wuchereria, having two species Wuchereria bancrofti and Wuchereria malai. As the name suggests, the infected organ of the body, it becomes massive as size of elephant. For example, as shown in the picture also, The person having elephantiasis in left leg is huge and it is looking like as that of elephant, whereas the right one is normal one. Wuchereria is a filarial worm, and this disease is transmitted through female mosquito vectors. You can see the diagram of this worm. It affects the lymphatic vessels of the lower limbs. It's there in the body for many years, and then it starts accumulation of fluid in the particular organ of the body, giving it a huge size. Next is a fungal disease, ringworms. It is caused by many genera of fungi that includes Microsporum, Trichophyton, Epidermophyton. The picture shows the how ringworm actually looks like. An infected person has having ringworm in his hands. Actually, it is caused by fungi. There is a difference between the pathogens that we have discussed till now and fungi. Fungi has got more complex cellular structure, so the disease pattern of fungi is very much different from the previously studied pathogens. The source of this disease is soil or by using towels, clothes, or even the comb of an infected individual. Its symptoms includes appearance of dry, scaly lesions on various parts of the body, such as skins, nails, and scalp. One of the important things for the growth of fungus is that fungus thrives in heat and moisture. Thus, the skin fold areas gives a better environment for fungus to survive, and thus ringworms are usually seen in such parts of the body. All these diseases that we have just discussed, these are infectious diseases and they can be prevented by maintaining personal and public hygiene. Prevention is very much important because then only we can take a control over these diseases. Else, we can see a huge population getting affected by these diseases, and that will affect the health of the society. Next, we'll talk about drugs and alcohol abuse. A general question might be there, like why we are talking about drugs and alcohol abuse in a chapter of health and disease. Because drugs and alcohol abuse has become a major concern today, and a big section of youth and adults are into drugs and alcohol abuse, affecting their own health and the health of the society. Thus, this portion, drugs and alcohol abuse, becomes a major section to be discussed upon. The three major drugs which are generally abused are opioids, cannabinoids, and cocoa alkaloids. The field study on these three one by one. The first one is opioids. Opioids binds to specific opioid receptors present in our central nervous system and gastrointestinal tract. And the example of this opioids includes heroin, which is also called as MAG. It is extracted from poppy plant, Papaver somniferum. The picture of this plant is shown in the slide. Heroin is a depressant and it slows down the body functions, and it is generally taken by snorting and injection. The next one is cannabinoids. Cannabinoids interact with cannabinoid receptors present in the brain, and its examples includes marijuana, hashish, charas, and ganja. It is extracted from the plant Cannabis sativa. The picture is of Cannabis sativa plant. It affects cardiovascular system of the body. It is generally taken by inhalation and oral ingestion, and the cannabinoid drugs are the ones which are also taken up by sports persons, and but that is an abuse. The third one is coca alkaloids or cocaine. This interferes with the transport of neurotransmitter dopamine. This cocaine is also called as coke or crack. It is extracted from coca plant Erythroxylum coca, which is a potent stimulating action on central nervous system and producing a sense of euphoria, increased energy, and hallucinations. Apart from these three drugs that we have just discussed, there are other medicinal drugs as well, which helps in coping up with depression and insomnia, like barbiturates, amphetamines, benzodiazepines, lysergic acid diethyl amides, etc. But these drugs are abused by the people. There is a drug morphine which acts as a sedative and a painkiller and is generally prescribed during surgeries. But again, this drug is also abused. Next, we'll talk about tobacco and smoking, which again is affecting our society. Tobacco contains nicotine and alkaloid. Nicotine stimulates adrenal glands of the body, which releases hormones adrenaline and non-adrenaline into our blood circulation. Both of these hormones increases the blood pressure and thus increases the heart rate. And tobacco chewing is also associated with cancer of oral cavity. Uh, Next, smoking, how smoking is dangerous to human body. Smoking actually increases the level of carbon monoxide in the blood, and the hemoglobin which is there in the RBCs, they have got more affinity for carbon monoxide than for oxygen. Thus, the hemoglobin which has already been bound to oxygen, it leaves oxygen and binds to carbon monoxide. That finally leads to deficiency of oxygen in the body, and that may be fatal also at times. Smoking is also associated with increased incidences of cancer of lungs, urinary bladder and throat, bronchitis, emphysema, coronary heart disease, gastric ulcer, and etc. After drug and alcohol abuse, we'll talk about COVID-19. COVID-19 is a current disease which has engulfed the complete world, and everyone is knowing about it. Researches are going on throughout the world in different labs to come out with vaccines and medications to save the human life and to know the solution for this disease. However, no significant result has come up yet. The disease is caused by coronavirus, and thus it can also be called as coronavirus outbreak. This came into light on December 31, 2019, when China informed the World Health Organization (WHO) about a cluster of cases in Wuhan city in Hubei province of pneumonia of an unknown cause. Subsequently, this disease spread to many more provinces in China and to the rest of the world. Now, the WHO has declared this disease as pandemic. This virus has been named as SARS-CoV-2 and the disease has been named as COVID-19. Very important thing, how this disease can be prevented or the risk of this disease can be reduced. There are few things which can be followed. First is washing hands very frequently with alcohol-based hand wash or soap for 20 seconds. Not touching face, eyes, nose without washing hands or using hand sanitizer. Uh, Even feeling sick and having high temperature, sore throat, running nose, etc., staying at home or meeting the doctor if needed, maintaining social distancing of at least 1 meters and covering the cup whenever required. And now it is the time to share, care, like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching this video and you can leave topic suggestions at info@calendarstudy.com. Thank you so much.